just the air, the wind was so strong that when it went over the top of the tent, it was collapsing it. It was like an accordion. These are mountain tents. They're made for wind, for wind and stuff, but it was just collapsing on top of me and then springing back up again because of the rods. So it was beating the crap out of me. If I had not held those stakes in the ground, it would have just blown me off that mountain. Nobody would probably ever found my body.
Hello, and welcome to Project Candor. I'm your host, Jeanne Anderson, and this is the show where ordinary people share unexpected stories. Today's guest brings together Marine Corps discipline, personal recovery, and a journey most people wouldn't attempt at any age. Jeanne Timmerman is a Marine Corps veteran, retired attorney, and author. Born in a small village in upstate New York, a place he says had more cows than people. Jeanne enlisted in the United States Marine Corps in 1966 and served in the 1st Marines in Vietnam. Years later, at 72 years old, he set out on a very different challenge, hiking the entire 2,200-mile Appalachian Trail. Jeanne later captured that journey in his book, A Spiritual Passage, reflecting on endurance, recovery, faith, and the lessons learned along the trail. Jeanne Timmerman, hello. I'm so glad to have you here.
Yes, Jeannie. Great to be here. Thank you.
So the way we go on the show is, we say hello to you, and then we want to dig in and find out more about you. So I've got a list of questions prepared today. Are you ready to dive in?
I am.
All right. So put your best Jeanne Timmerman hat on. Whatever that may be, whatever rank that may be, and whether it's Marines or hiking, who knows? I'm just thinking about that picture of you that I saw of you in your hiking cap. All right, let's go on. Question number 1. Jeanne, I think there are really 2 questions here. First, how did hiking the Appalachian Trail even get on your radar? And second, why at 72 did you decide, yes, now is the time?
Well, I was kind of forced into it by my brother. My brother was a combat Army veteran, machine gunner on a helicopter in the Vietnam War. And when he came back home, all of us guys, when we came back, we had a fair amount of trauma. But Ron met our mother's best friend, Edie. And Edie was 14 years older than Ron, and on their first date, she showed up with the 3 youngest of her 7 kids.
Whoa.
Yeah, whoa. And she was a really a beautiful woman inside and out, and my brother fell madly in love. And, they got married, and he ended up with a huge family. Edie got interested. My brother was always a religious man. I was not. And when Edie showed an interest in the Mormon church, the Church of Latter-day Saints, Ronnie said, fine, let's do it. And they ended up moving to Utah and lived in St. George for 40 years. Edie produced 7 kids, 27 grandchildren, and now 30 great-grandchildren. Whoa, yeah. So I'm living on the East Coast with my family, and Ronnie's living in Utah. I had never been to his house. They came east every year, and then they would rent a cottage on Lake Ontario. We'd get together. I might see my brother one time a year, for an afternoon. And my younger brother and I would be drinking and carousing and mocking him for being a dry, not drinking Mormon bishop. It was all good-natured stuff, but I look back on it. It's not a pretty picture necessarily, but anyway, we never had any problems. When Edie died, that was very difficult for Ron, and I could tell talking to him on the phone, and I said, well, I'll come out. And on the phone call, he said something, Jeannie, about hiking the Appalachian Trail. And my brain just says, there's no way. That's just... I had hiked sections of the Appalachian Trail over the years. I ran 26 marathons. Turned out both my brother and I were kind of exercise geeks. We just weekend warriors, however you want to put it. So even though we were in our early 70s, we were both really good shape. I went out there and we were hiking in the desert, and he brought it up again, and I didn't think he was serious. And I said, well, how are you going to do it? And he said, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
take the bus to Springer Mountain, Georgia, and start walking. And I said, well, uh, okay, that's not going to work, bro. That's not a good plan. How about if I go with you? He said, you would? And I said, sure, why not? And then I said, well, when are you going to do it? I'm thinking like in a year or so, right? He goes, March 22nd. I mean, he's got this all figured out. Well, March 22nd, 2018, in a blizzard, we're standing at the top of Springer Mountain on our way.
Oh, wow. Well, I
Uh,
have to go back. Edie, she
sure.
met him when she already had 7 kids?
Yes, she was divorced. She had 7 kids.
Okay, so she never had more kids with your brother. That's where I was like, did she have more kids? When you
No, I
said,
think she was kind of worn out by that.
hey, I get her pain
My
there.
brother was, I don't know if that was, I don't think that was ever an issue. He certainly never said anything about it. Edie was just, one of the funniest things that happened, Jeanne. Now, I had relationship problems between alcohol, trauma, and other things. I've been divorced 3 times, married 4 times. I'm not proud of that, but that's just how it worked out. And there was never any verbal or physical aspects to it. It was just, you do stuff when you drink that you wouldn't normally do. And anyway, but Ronnie was totally wholesome guy, and they just had a fantastic marriage. I don't think they ever really thought about having more kids.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's not your story, but anyway, I just wanted to ask that question. And you don't have to feel bad about how you were divorced 3 times and married 4, because I mean, everybody has those stories, including myself. Alcohol was involved in one, but not me. But anyway, I married a second time. So
Right.
this is the one that stuck.
Well, I've been married now 25 years to the same lady, and she's, it works out.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So when you started telling people you were planning to hike 2,200 miles through the mountains at 72, what kind of reactions did you get? Were people supportive, or did some of them think you had completely lost your mind? I actually thought about it and I'm like, I didn't even know that was the things people did.
Well, the family was very supportive. Ronnie kept a journal. When I saw his journal after the hike and was thinking about doing a book, it was every day he wrote in his journal the same sentence would be that I'm so happy my family's supporting me, or I
Oh,
love my family, all that kind of stuff. And I was writing more about the people we met and all that kind of thing. But I don't know, my wife wasn't particularly happy, but I don't think, I don't think most people were too worried about it, because they probably figured, like I did, 2 weeks max, and then these old guys will get over it. Everybody knew we were kind of gritty guys.
did your wife like meet you at different points along the way since she hadn't seen you? Did she like travel to a place in Georgia, or what your next stop was?
No,
Tennessee? No.
we were kind of on our own. Ron's oldest son, Rick, was 60 at the time. He hiked 62. He hiked the first 2 weeks with us, which was a godsend, because
Mm.
he's a gear geek, and I'm more of a just do it type of guy. Ronnie had done a lot of studying of the maps and things like that. And then Rick ended up finishing it with my brother. I didn't do the full 2,200 miles because I fell down a rock slide in
Oh,
Massachusetts.
that's right. You did tell me that earlier.
Yeah. So I only did 1,863 miles.
That's still like unbelievably long.
And in the book, I actually wrote when Ronnie, I didn't, we could hike all day long and not say 100 words to each other. We're guys that don't complain. We just kind of, soldier through, if you will. And I was shocked when I read Ronnie's journal, and then he was shocked when he read the first draft of the book, because I wrote in there that 2 weeks max. And he goes, bro, you thought we'd only go 2 weeks at the most? I said, absolutely. There was any way in heck we were going to do the whole
go
thing.
the whole thing.
I misjudged his determination.
Wow. It had to be determination. Definitely.
Yeah.
So once the decision was made, what was the biggest challenge in preparing yourself physically or mentally for something like that?
Well, I mean, we both kind of knew what we were doing. I had done a fair amount of hiking in the Smoky Mountains over the years. And Ronnie was doing the same. He did a lot more stuff than I realized because, we didn't really talk to each other very much over the years. And critters was one thing I did understand that. I'd had encounters with bears, one of which was really troubling. I was fake charging that bear, and that bear was fake charging me, and he wouldn't leave me alone. I thought I was going to have to do something drastic, which I really didn't want to do. This was not on the Appalachian Trail. This was prior. So, and I had hiked in the Smoky Mountains, which is one of the hardest areas of it. So I had some idea how dangerous and hard it was going to be. But I'll tell you what, when we started actually doing it, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I like nature and all that stuff. But I tell you, when you start talking bears and everything, I'm like, my hikes are going to be like up the 10 stores to my hotel room in the Hilton or something. I'm not going out there with a bear, but hey, that could be dangerous too. You never know.
Well, yeah, and there's lots of bear stories and pictures in the book, and snakes. I had a fair number of encounters with poisonous snakes.
Oh, yeah. Georgia, North Carolina, I know they have lots of snakes.
Yep. Shenandoah Park in the lower part of the Appalachian Trail in Virginia. Oh my gosh, the deer will walk right up to you. There's bears everywhere. I saw a bear every day for 7 days at one stretch. I actually ran into a ranger and said, there's a lot of bears here. And he goes, yeah, there's 300 square miles of land in the Shenandoah National Park. And he said according to their surveys, there's about 600 bears. Well, that's 2 bears for every square mile.
Oh.
And 80% of the terrain, the bears aren't going to walk on. Nobody's going to walk on it because it's straight down or straight up pretty much. And so where do they go? They hike on the trail. They walk on the trail. I came around a corner and I had the biggest black bear I've ever seen in my whole life right in front of me, like 10 feet away. I mean, that close. And he froze with one paw up in the air like this. And I just froze and we're staring at each other. He's froze. I'm froze. And I very slowly, because if he wants me, he's got me. There's not a thing I can do, right? I very recently slowed. Do I get a bear spray thing or nothing? No. I pull out my phone. This is so stupid. Because I wanted to get a picture of him. And when I bought
really?
Yeah, that's what I wanted. This thing was magnificent. Its head was about the size of a bowling ball. And he is literally 10 feet away from me. And the thing that shocked me was first thought through my head, Jeannie, was this is the most beautiful beast I have ever seen in my life. Wow. Right? And his fur was so shiny. It was just, I was stunned. And I wanted a picture of it so bad because I knew I would never see anything like that again. And I put the phone up, and when I did, he whirled around, went down that trail. I didn't even get a picture of his rear end. He went so fast.
Oh, wow.
And then he turned left and he went down the mountain. Now, the day before I had seen a bear, and that one was quite a ways away, probably, a couple hundred feet at least. And he just quietly went off the trail and disappeared, never made a sound. This bear, when he went down that mountain, it sounded like a bulldozer. I mean, rocks are flying, trees, it sounded like the trees are falling over. And this hiker comes up behind me, goes, "What is that?" And I said, "It's a bear." He said, "It can't be a bear." I said, "That's a bear. It was right there like 5 seconds ago." And it went on for like 30 seconds. It was he and I just stood there in awe. That was amazing. But
well, gee, I mean, that could have been a baby for all you knew. I mean, there are some big bear? So you think it was an adult bear or?
Oh no, it was huge. It was probably a
Okay.
350 pounder, which is big for a black bear. I've seen lots of bears. I know that was a big,
That
big.
was a big adult bear. Okay.
If I was a bear hunter and it was see, that's the problem. That's what the ranger said. There's no hunting season here, not for deer or for the bears. It's a problem. His name was Jeanne Anderson. I said, Gene, this is really not good. And he says, yeah, somebody's going to get hurt someday.
His name was my name?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
He was part of the Potomac Conservancy section. Is what he told me. I ran into him a couple times. I didn't have this conversation the same day. It was a few days later, and we were further up.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was part of, I don't know. His job, I guess, was to go out and meet hikers and hike with them a little bit. He and I hiked together one day, pretty much the whole day. So he wasn't doing the trail, but he was just on the trail to be there and, talk to people and stuff.
Wow. I don't know what I'd do if I met a bear. Well, I think Parent Trap. All of a sudden I thought of the Parent Trap where they were trying to say, did she say 2 sticks or something? Click 2 sticks ahead of you if there's bears or snakes. I don't remember. Something stupid. That would be me.
Well, what they tell you to do today, it used to be back in the 70s and 80s, they would tell hikers to get on the ground and get in the fetal position, cover your head with your hands and pray or something.
Oh, wow.
Well, that didn't work out too good. See, here's the problem. And I knew this from my prior experience. So what happens is bears can't see very good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when they encounter something that they think might be food, they want it to run. If it runs, they'll go after it. They won't even hesitate. They'll just go. So you can never run away from a bear. You won't go 10 feet anyway. So it's over. So the worst thing. So what they teach now is you jump up and down and yell and so on and so forth. Well, that don't work very good either sometimes. But what I ended up doing was this bear would fake charge me. He would growl. The stuff would be hanging from it. He'd be drooling like crazy because he's hungry. And the one that I had the worst encounter with, it was in the fall. So the bear was getting ready to hibernate, but it was still hungry. And so it was kind of out of its mind a little bit, I think, because it wouldn't leave me alone. And what it would do is it would run at me, but it's not, and its paws are flying, the dirt's flying, he's growling, and he's looking like he's charging, but he's not really charging because he doesn't know what he's dealing with yet, right?
Right.
And then he'd stop, and then I would do a fake charge, and my legs would be pumping, and I'd be yelling, and my arms would be going. And it looks like I'm running 20 miles an hour, and I'm moving forward like 6 inches.
Oh, it's too bad somebody couldn't have filmed that.
Yeah, so it's like a fake charge. But we did that a couple times, and then he would wander, he would go away, and then I would think it'd be okay, and I'd start, and I'm all by myself. There's nobody around. I haven't seen anybody all day. And then the next thing I know, he's behind me and he's coming after me again. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, wow.
It went on for an hour and a half. And then finally, I kind of did a more than just a fake charge. And that time when he left, he left. But
I wonder, do they smell you too? I don't know.
They do.
Maybe if you have a lot of bad. Oh, that's what the bear spray is about, making a stinky smell. Okay, let's move away from the bears because that gets a little scary for me. No, I think it's all fun. But let's go to another question. Your story also includes recovery from alcoholism. But after that story, I don't know how you could recover. I would be wanting to drink about that time. Sometimes people who have served in the military talk about how that experience shapes the way they deal with stress or challenges later in life. I'm curious, did your time in the Marine Corps have any influence on that chapter of your life or on the way you approached recovery?
Yes, it did. So my brother and I both had traumatic experiences in Vietnam, and I knew the first time I drank at 13 that it was probably going to be a problem because I just liked it so much. It was insane. And I got wicked drunk and crawled home, and talked to my dad next day because I knew he was going to find out anyway. And all he said was never do it again. And I thought, I can't wait. But I made a conscious decision for some reason, Jeannie. I thought, you know what? Because we were being exposed to marijuana and other things. And I'm never going to do any of that stuff because why would I? I didn't need to, for one thing. I mean, alcohol did everything for me I ever wanted it to. But being power, we were very impoverished when I was a kid, and money was, so it wasn't a problem. And in the military, were long stretches we didn't drink. When I drank, most of the time I got drunk. But so for a long time, it wasn't a problem. When I came back from Vietnam, then I ended up married with a couple of kids. I had enlisted, but when I came back from Vietnam, they made me an officer, and I ended up in JAG school by a total fluke.
Oh, that's
Probably
very cool.
probably the only enlisted Marine Corps veteran that was promoted to an officer that became a JAG officer without a college degree or a law degree. And I ended up in a class at the JAG school with 99 other lawyers. They had all graduated from law school. And I decided to, instead of drinking all the time like they were doing, I decided to focus on it. And I ended up I got the highest score. I was the class honor man. Really ticked them all off.
Oh, that's a really nice story.
Yeah. So, well, I like to say the Marine Corps damn near got me killed about 20 times in Vietnam, for sure. I mean, an inch or two.
Stop. I think that's one of your stories.
Yeah.
And the two truths and a lie. Don't go there.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I forgot about that.
Oh,
Anyway.
no. I'm just remembering what we're going to go to next.
Yeah. So when I came back, I'm in college, I'm working 3 jobs, married 2 kids. And every once in a while I think it's amazing because I don't seem to have any repercussions from the Vietnam War. And then I started having these horrific nightmares. And I would void myself in the bed with my wife, wake up thinking I'm in a battle covered with blood, and I'd be screaming.
Oh, wow.
The first time that happened, she didn't know what was going on. She crawled over to the door where the light switch was and turned it on. And when she did that, I opened my eyes and I realized I wasn't covered with blood. I was covered with sweat, and I didn't smell urine and all that stuff. Or I did, actually, because it was mine. I thought I was smelling the gore from the battle.
Mm.
And we just both looked at each other and we knew that something, it was bad. And there was no programs in those days. And I started using alcohol to medicate at night. I put the kids to bed, and then I would drink insanely for an hour and go to bed. And that way either the dreams didn't happen or I didn't remember them. I don't know. But so I would do that fairly regularly. And of course, and after a while you get a higher tolerance and the whole 9 yards. It didn't really affect me until I got my late 50s, early 60s. And then I ended up in suicide watches and all kinds of bad stuff.
Ooh,
That led
I'm so
me
sorry.
to a recovery program for alcoholics in which the members like to remain anonymous. And I went through the whole deal, and it just changed my life. Amazing. And I still go to meetings every day, and I work with guys every day. It gave me joy in my life. I'm 80 years old now. I did it right through. I got sober 4 years before we did the hike.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right.
And on the hike every day, I was talking to at least 2 guys that I was trying, helping out. And I maintained my sobriety without any problem. And
Well, that's
it's been an
wonderful.
amazing journey, Jeannie. It changed my life. I have more joy these days at 80 years old, I swear, than I ever did. That recovery program gave me a whole new life. I just remember being 68 years old, looking into the mirror and looking, you're a complete piece of manure. Your life is over. You might as well be dead. And then it all changed completely.
Well, that takes me to my next question, actually, which is more about the spiritual journey. Your book is called A Spiritual Passage, which suggests the journey became more than just the physical challenge. Was there a moment on the trail where something happened and you felt like the journey had become something deeper or more spiritual?
Yes. Yeah, there was quite a few. My brother had some too. We both did. Some of them were where we were in stress and danger, and then some of them were more just awareness. You know, so in the Smoky Mountains, I got caught at dusk in a bad spot on the trail, south of Klingman's Dome before you get to Fontana Dam. There's a section of the trail there that's there's like 10, 12, 15 feet wide, and it's hundreds, if not thousands of feet straight down on each side. And I was trying to get to a place called False Gap and to pitch my tent. And when I got there, there was no gap. That's probably why it was called False Gap.
False Gap.
And a thunderstorm was coming up, and I pitched my tent right in the trail and got in it. And I was in that part of the Smoky Mountains where there's this huge valley. It's very wide to the south, and then it comes right to a point, which is right where I was at.
Okay.
So these storms came in, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and it was just sounded like freight trains were coming at me. Sometimes I'd go to the right, sometimes I'd go to the left, and then when one would hit me, my tent would just collapse like an accordion, like 10 times a second. It was just beating the crap out of me. And I felt like I was in a body bag. I was just going to get blown off that mountain at any moment, and I would be dead. And later my brother would say, "Well, you were hanging on to the rods that held the tent up?" I said, "Hell no, I was pushing down on the stakes with my hands and my feet."
Oh.
So hoping and praying it wouldn't rip out. And I was praying to God, like, gosh darn it, I've been a good boy for 4 years. That's how long I've been in recovery. And, if you want me to die tonight, I guess I got to accept that. But I really think I could do some more work for you if you just give me a break. But it went on. It was terrifying. It was the most terrifying thing I've ever done when nobody was shooting at me. And it went on a lot longer than most times other things would happen.
Well, what was hitting you? Was it rocks or was it tree branches or what was the...
all that was going on, but just the air, the wind was so strong. When it went over the top of the tent, it was collapsing it. It was like an accordion.
Oh, okay.
So the two aluminum rods, these are mountain tents. They're made for wind, for wind and stuff, but not like that. And what it was doing, it was just collapsing on top of me and then springing back up again because of the rods. So it was beating the crap out of me. If I had not held those stakes in the ground, it would have just blown me off that mountain. Nobody would probably ever found my body.
Yeah, the wind's that massive, you would just be like a feather. It could just blow you off.
Yeah, well, before I got in the tent, I was standing there doing a leak, and I'm looking down, and I could see pine trees down between my legs behind me.
Mm-hmm.
That's how. So I'm on a cliff that's basically an overhang right there.
Oh, okay.
And the other side of the trail, the cliff went straight down hundreds of feet. I mean, literally, it's just unbelievable. So when it finally, just before it started getting light, the wind stopped. But it was like probably 5 hours of just pure terror. Oh, wow. And hanging on
and praying. That could be very spiritual.
Sure, yeah. And when I got out of the tent at daybreak, I turned my phone on every morning. So the guys that were calling me, they know I would turn my phone on in the morning and they could call me. And they both did. And then I didn't, I wasn't scared them or anything, but one of them said, "I was really scared for you because I was watching the weather there and they said there was tornadoes there." And I said, "Well, I didn't see a tornado, but it was pretty bad." I didn't go into details.
Well, I know because I live in Florida and I've lived in places all on the coast all my life, and hurricanes are pretty rugged and things flying by you and everything. So I understand the wind impact, but I would not want to be in a little tent in that. Oh, wow. That's amazing. Well, I know that you've got a lot more you can share with us, but I do want to transition to our Two Truths and a Lie. Are you ready to play our game?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So part of this show is to actually get, for those listening, is to get headlines from the guest in advance of 3 stories that 2 of them are true and one of them may be a lie, or it could just be a twisted truth. So we're going to play our game now. What will happen is I'll read out the headlines and then I will guess. And then our guest will take us through each of those without telling us which one's the lie. But somehow I think we might be able to guess them a little bit based on our questions. Anyhow, let's go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. This episode is sponsored by Rebel 180, the home of brave pivots and fresh starts. Rebel 180 is all about helping you rediscover what's possible when you stop settling and start listening to that little tug inside that says, life can be different. Whether you're navigating a career shift, dreaming about a new direction, or standing at the crossroads wondering if it's time for your own 180-degree turn, Rebel 180 is a reminder you don't need permission to change your story. Sponsor, we're stepping into the world of tech. Simple Socket Print, the lightweight, blazing fast label print solution designed for those who need reliability without the bloat. With version 1.5, you get instant printing in milliseconds, fully maintained print sequence, and automatic base 64 decoding, all without needing print driver installs. If you're running SQL Server 2016 or newer, Simple Socket Print 1.5 drops right in and gets to work. Keep your workflow simple. Keep your label printing fast with Simple Socket Print. Thank you to our sponsors. And here are the two truths and a lie on screen. Number one, here's your headline. The United States Marine Corps tried to get Rand killed at least 20 times and then gave him a career. Number two, Rand says hiking the Appalachian Trail when he was 72 was the hardest thing he ever did when nobody was shooting at him. And then three, there was a time when Rand thought a guy like him could never get sober. So I am going to pick, I can't really pick that one's a lie. They all sound really reasonable to me. So I'll just pick one, but you take us through these stories, please.
Okay. Well, yeah, I enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1966. I got drunk in a bar at the university I was attending. I was so desperate at that point. My life I had a job as a janitor from midnight to 8 o'clock every morning, cleaning toilets at my old high school.
Oh.
I was a pin setter in a bowling alley that did not have the automatic pin setters yet. And selling Amway, and I had no money. And I had no idea what I was going to do. I had changed my my major 3 times, and the third time was to psychology because I knew I was a nut job, and I had no purpose in life whatsoever. And,
does anybody ever sell Amway for real? Get any money?
Yeah, the bronze, the shine stuff. And yeah, I did that door to door in Oswego. I was going to Oswego State at that time.
Okay.
And I got drunk, and this was kind of a God thing, I guess, in a way. The bartender came back the next morning, and I'm passed out on the pool table. I'm the only person in there, and he unlocks the door and comes in, starts cleaning up and turns on the radio, and is talking about 1st Marine Division going into Vietnam. And I made a decision right then. It was my version of the French Foreign Legion. Back in those days, if you were desperate and you didn't know what to do with your life, and you were a young man, you could go and join the French Foreign Legion. That was the old saying. But for me, it was the Marine Corps. It was probably the most dramatic thing I ever could have done. I always felt a lot of patriotism. I had been very involved in the Boy Scouts, and I really felt loyalty to my country and love of my country. I'd been taught that. All my uncles had fought in World War II. My dad, Mustang pilot. I just felt like I had to carry on the tradition. My brother had already enlisted in the Army. He was in Vietnam at that point, and he did two tours. So, and 9 months later, I'm in a rice paddy going, damn, what have I done?
I would rather be selling Amway. Yeah, that was pretty traumatic. Okay, we already know about you on number 2, I think. We've talked a lot about that. So this isn't a surprise story. You want to say anything about that?
No, we did cover pretty good. I mean, there's lots of stories in the book. There's 500 pages. I wrote in there how we did it on a daily basis, where we went from and to. If somebody wanted to try to, emulate what we did, they got the whole blueprint in the book. along with my story about recovery and how I did that with the help of wonderful people, and then my brother's spiritual journey and how he got through the grief. I think Edie's dying challenged him spiritually in ways that were difficult. And then he chose to go, like he called it, nature's call, to see God's work. And my gosh, on that trail, you see things that are unbelievable. If you can't believe in a higher power, go on a long walk and you'll change your mind, because something had to create this. It was huge.
Yeah, every time I see, just even going to the zoo, when you just even look at an animal, a lion or even the monkeys or what, you just like, who could make something without it being God? I mean, this is not random stuff.
With 2 hearts, because it's got a long neck.
Somebody was telling me about giraffes and having sponges in their neck because they drink and it can't go that fast down their neck. So they've got built-in mechanisms like our sponges along the way to catch it and then have it filter down in. I mean, that's such ingenuity that who would ever think about that? I mean, we have an esophagus, but can you imagine the size of the giraffe's esophagus? I could just go on and on. So I'm with you there. Yeah. It must have been really, really powerful to see God's handiwork along the trail.
Amazing. And amazing people, too. I mean, some spiritual counters there. There's lots of stories in the book. It was an amazing experience. I wanted to share it. And it turned out apparently my recovery story has helped some people get on the right track, I've been told. So
I think you have a lot of good stories that can benefit listeners and other people in general. Just keep going.
Yeah.
So number 3, you said that you didn't think a guy like you could ever get sober when laying on a pool table somewhere.
Well, yeah. I mean, at the end in my late 50s, early 60s, alcoholics metabolize alcohol differently. I thought there was something wrong with me. I couldn't understand how a man of my willpower ran 26 marathons, fought in a war. I was a litigator. I stood on my feet almost every day in court, and I did a really good job. Never had any problems, never got grieved by a client or anything. I mean, I just had a great, awesome career. But then the alcohol took over. I couldn't understand why I couldn't stay stopped. And when I drank, I just got thirstier and thirstier. Well, we know today that alcoholics metabolize their alcohol differently than normal people, and it creates acetone. And that acetone is what gives you that feeling that you can't stop drinking. It's hard to explain to normal people. Can't even. My wife doesn't understand it. It's impossible.
Well, I know I drank in the Navy, but I tell you, I can't drink very much. And I don't drink much now either, but I will have a margarita every once in a while. But they gave me a margarita about a month ago, and I thought maybe I haven't eaten enough food or something, but I drank some of that thing, and I told my husband, I looked straight at him, I said, I'm going down. We need to go home. One margarita.
Well, that's where we get that feeling we can't stop. I mean, I would start drinking, and then I'd be 3 days later, and I can't. I'm thirstier than I was when I started. See, I thought it was a moral failing. My wife thought it was a moral failing, but it's not. That's why the American Medical Association described it, categorized it as a disease in 1957. So,
but they have nothing really to give you to cure it. Not really. They have some pills, I know, but they don't really have anything much. And then it's all willpower. They want you to be willpower, which if everybody could do everything from willpower, then everybody would be skinny, tall, buff, don't drink.
You're right.
Well, willpower.
I'd be about 4 inches taller for sure.
That's funny. Well, hey, it's been such a pleasure to have you on here. And I know people are going to want to know how to get in touch with you. So I'm going to share my screen one more time so that I can show you how to contact Ray and get more information about his book and everything else. Let's see. Here you go. How to connect. And you also gave me this great quote when we were talking before and preparing for this call. So you want to talk about that?
Oh, I was taught at a very young age that I could cope with life and deal with almost anything one step at a time. Yeah, my dad was paralyzed with polio from the waist down. He almost died. He ended up 8 months in an iron lung, not even able to breathe on his own. He had two cousins that got polio and died the same day. He was probably incredibly lucky to make it to the Utica Children's Hospital. And
Oof.
I can't imagine the medical bills, but it drove us into abject poverty. But my dad was an amazing guy. I don't know what he was like before the polio. He was probably a little bit nicer, but he was a tough, gruff guy. He could not stand emotional stress. So he had to solve every problem immediately. And so sometimes that could be kind of violent, but he taught me how to cope and deal. You deal with
Okay.
what life gives you, and then you cope. And he was the hardest working man I ever knew. He taught, I basically worked from dawn to dusk, and he made himself creepers and special chairs and tools and all kinds of things. And he was just an amazing man. He could fix anything. We
Mm.
built a 20-foot boat in the basement of our house.
Wow, that's like Jethro Gibbs on NCIS.
Yeah. And I'm like, how's he going to get this out of here?
Oh, wow.
And the spring came, he had me and my brother go outside and start digging in the back lawn. And we ended up digging this ramp that goes down to the foundation of the house. And he built a door.
Oh, wow.
So the boat can go out the door, but it's got to go up this ramp, right? And he was a mathematical genius, but I just remember him standing there. We're pulling the boat out with a tractor and with a chain, and my father's standing there watching the boat go up, and the foundation, the house, the sill, the bottom of the house, right? The first
Right.
floor above the basement. It's permanent. You can't take that out. And the boat is going out and it's getting closer and closer and closer. And my dad's got a cigar in his mouth, and that cigar is just going like this. and that boat went right up and just touched that sill, and then it cleared.
Oh,
Or it would have been wedged in there.
and that's the time you also want movies being kept, but hey, it didn't happen then.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Or
But
did you capture it somehow?
no,
Oh,
just in our
too bad.
minds. But he was an amazing pilot. I don't know. But, I was listening to one of your other guests and talking about this very thing. What it comes down to is we have to accept what it is, whatever the problem is, deal, right?
Right.
And then cope with it. Deal with it. Okay, it's there. Can't change it. Now how am I going to cope with it?
Right.
Well, one step at a time. That's the easiest way. Just say, okay, well, the first thing I got to do, and then just do that. And it's the same way as hiking the trail, right? All I got to do is take one step at a time. And 45,000 later, I will have finished that day's hike.
So one of my guests also said, Alan Mallory, he climbed Mount Everest, and he said, find your own Everest. So I'm telling you, your Everest was this Appalachian Trail, but I'm not going in those directions that you guys are doing. One step at a time, and that's just going to be me getting my stuff done around here, practicing my piano. That's probably my worst. That's my Everest. I need to spend more time on it because I love doing it. I just don't do it as much as I should.
I just took a picture of that. That's beautiful. Thank you. I
Well,
really appreciate you, Jeannie. This has been awesome.
Oh, well, great. I'm so glad you were on, and I hope people will reach out and contact you on your website and, get more information on your website about your journey, as well as order your book. So thank you so much for being a guest. And for those listening, I hope you will tune in next week when we have another fabulous guest. And until then, from your Admiral of the Unexpected, I wish you smooth sailing.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me on Project Candor, where the doors are open, the stories are unexpected, and the treasure is always real. If today's episode made you laugh or think, follow the show and share it with your crew. Otherwise, I might just make you swab the deck. I'm Jeanne Anderson, your Admiral of the Unexpected. See you on the next voyage.